Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another weekly setup. So I'm about to break down over 20 pairs, as you can see right here, using the fxalexg set and forget strategy. And then after doing so, I'll show you the best pairs we are going to be trading for next week. So coming over to my screen right now, we are going to do a little bit of trade recap of what happened last week, right? So last week, the trade I took was GBPCHF, which is this one right here on my screen right now. So as usual, I do call all these trades live before they happen, right? So let me show you guys before we continue. Alright, so coming over to the coming over to the Telegram channel, this is when I call the trade right here, right? So in order to join the Telegram channel, it's very simple. Again, if you come over to the channel right here, you can just click on this link. Then you click this one that says Telegram to join the Telegram channel. So on the Telegram channel last week, I let you guys know that I'll be pressing sell on GBPCHF in about 10 minutes, right? And then I showed you guys how the trade is going to look like. This is the stop loss, the entries, and the take profit levels, right? Then, some few hours, maybe I don't know how many hours, I'll check it again, but like 16 hours or thereabouts, we're in drawdown. And I told you guys, trade update on JPBCHF, still in drawdown level, but we are still maintaining bearish structure. I'll continue to set and forget, right? And then the next day, the trade update, we started having a very strong push to the downside, and I continue to hold the trade like I told you guys right here, showed you guys the reasons I'm holding this trade, and then finally we hit take profit. As you can see, this is the alert I got. I usually like to customize my alert so that it just makes trading a little bit more fun, right? So the alert I got here was GPPCHF, what a trader, another W added to your book Zico. So so if you come over back to trading view, you can see that I started the trade in drawdown, as you can see right here, and this trade actually took about 2 days. So I actually spent 2 days in drawdown before it finally started going to the direction. So the funny thing about this particular trade is that when I was in drawdown, there was a lot of people that were giving me advice on why the trade is a bad idea and stuff like that. But that's the thing. If you are telling me that the daily time frame is bullish or something, I'm breaking my rules or something, it's not that I don't know, right? Anytime I enter a trade, I actually have a full idea of what I'm getting into, right? If I decide to enter the trade regardless, it means I've totally accepted whatever outcome that trade is going to give me, right? So that's pretty much it for this particular trade. I also had a lot of other trades I planned on taking last week, but I didn't end up taking just because it was a little bit more risky. It's not like the trade was risky, but it was risky because I was already on GBPCHF, right? So because of I was in on GBPCHF, I entered GBPUSD. If the trade reverses, or the two trades are likely to hit stop loss because they are both GBP pairs, right? And then gold did not give us the retracements, did not give us deep enough retracement for me to be able to call this particular trade setup, right? But this was also a very clean one. We had a clean break. The retracement was not deep enough. That's the only reason we did not take this trade. And then we could have taken this trade shots last week. So last week was not a bad one. We really we did well. Also, last week, just so you guys know, I dropped a video on why smart people cannot be profitable traders, right? So the concept is there. If you come over to the channel, you can just see it. It's right here. Let me show you guys. There's a lot of things I explained in that video. I would be explaining it in this video if I was interested in doing so, but that's not the content of this video, right? So this is the video right here. I'll link it up after this particular video so you can watch it after this one. But in this video, let us break down the 20 pairs we are willing to take for next week. So we'll start with GBPUSD. So coming over to the daily time frame, let's see what we have. Alright, GBPUSD daily time frame, as you can clearly see right now, market was bullish at the time, but right now it has started shifting structure bearish. We are still going to be maintaining this area of interest, or we might actually shift it. So let us see. Let's delete everything, by the way. Let's delete everything to have a cleaner perspective of what this market is doing right now. Alright, so clearly the daily time frame is currently bearish. As you can see, even from the EMA shifting down, showing bearish momentum, right? Weekly time frame. Alright, last week you can clearly see it was a very, very strong weekly engulfing candlestick. So last week was a very strong candlestick. right? Let me draw this area first that I'm seeing on the weekly. Now coming over to the daily, I would like to look for a daily area of interest that matches that of the weekly. Alright, so we have multiple rejections from this area on the daily time frame. So because of these rejections, we are going to be leaving this area of interest, right? This area of interest is going to be both the daily and the weekly area of interest. So it's a very, very strong area of interest. That's good. So the information we are having so far is that we need a retracement back into somewhere around this level to be able to sell, right? So let's see how the forward is looking. I expect the forward to still be bearish. All right, forward is also bearish. So again, very clean market structure that we're going to be looking for next week is a retracement back into this area right here to sell. So that is that for GPBUSD. We are going to be using it for next week. That will be our first pair for next week. EURUSD, the next pair. Let us see what we have. So we'll be deleting everything to see. All right, daily time frame. Daily time frame on EURUSD is bearish, right? Lower low right here, as you can see, and lower high right here. So the area of interest that made more sense that we want a rejection from is this one right here. The reason for that is because that is the last structural point, right? So I will now be extending the area of interest to the left to see if it's actually a valid one. So let's just stop here. Okay, so right here we had one rejection, so I will extend it just to accommodate it well. So one rejection right here, two rejection, three rejection, 4, 5 rejections from area, and 6 rejections. So that is a very strong area. Again, very similar with GPBUSD, right? So let us see how the weekly looks in this case. Weekly time frame is let's see, also bearish. So weekly time frame is still bearish. Now let's see how the forward looks. All right, forward time frame also very clean and is still bearish. So we need the exact same thing from EURUSD and GPUSD to have a retracement back into this area to be able to sell. So I'll be adding EURUSD for next week. What I would like for EURUSD and GPUSD is if the 1 hour time frame can really shift structure during having the retracement, right? So at the retracement, I need market to actually be bullish so that for me to be interested in actually selling, I'll now need the 1 hour to shift bearish again, right? I think that will be a little bit more safer for me to play that kind of trade, right? So that's pretty much it for GBP and EURUSD. Let us see what we have on gold. So gold, if you guys don't know by now, I've actually been testing a lot of things on gold. This was the one of last week. It didn't really hit, but again, I explained why this was not really a clean setup, right? I just wanted to see if it would play out, but apparently it came straight almost to TP and then reversed all the way to SL, and then that was pretty much a week out, and then all the way back to TP. So it was not really a bad trade. It was just not following the system. These were the one that were following the clean break and retest that I was explaining last week, right? So that's that for gold. But for now, let us see what we have on gold. So market is still currently bearish on gold. There's not enough data that I can see right here to decide if to buy or sell gold next week, right? So for now, there's nothing to do on gold. Next pair. If there's anything to do on gold, by the way, I'll let you guys know what it is on Telegram. But for right now, there's not enough data to tell me what to do on gold. So next pair we have is GPP card. Again, let me explain GPP card a little bit, right? So GPP card daily time frame. If you guys notice, market structure was bearish, and we're looking to sell if price gets to around this level, right? But again, market was just pretty much printing blue candles. We never saw any reaction from that area. That's one of the major reasons we did not sell USD card last week, and that is a good thing because last week we had a little bit of fundamental news about Trump and China and why that China are now having some good relations with the US, and the US China are planning on also buying some airplanes from the US. So that is actually a very good sign for the USD. That shows that the USD will be gaining strength, and That's exactly what happened last week. That's why USD pairs were selling and then USD card was buying, and also gold was also selling. So that's a good sign. Let us see what we have right now. So right now, USD card is currently bullish, and it just makes sense for it to be bullish. The area of interest we are going to be using right here would be this one right here, right? I think that will be a cleaner area of interest to use. All right, so let's see this market again. Market structure is what? Bullish. All right, so USD card market structure is bullish. We have multiple rejections from this area of interest, as you can see. Very clean area of interest, by the way. So let's see the weekly. Weekly is, well, you can argue if it's bullish or bearish. In this case, I'll still be calling it bullish, but I'll not really be counting it as a very, strong one, just because we have let me explain what I mean. From here, this right here is the highest higher high, and this is the higher low, right? Since that time, price has spent about 35 days creating price action. I don't want to assume that I don't assume that this 35 days of price action makes no sense in deciding whether this market is bullish or bearish, right? But for overall market structure on the weekly, it still shows that we have bullish signs, right? So that's a good thing. Now let's see how the forward looks. All right, very clean market structure on the forward time frame. We are having a shift over to the upside. So as you can see, we were trending to the upside. Just look at the EMA. And then when we shifted to the downside, we started trending to the downside, and right now we shifted to the upside. Our goal is to look for where to join this momentum to the upside to continue buying, right? So, but let's see, the market structure, is a very gradual one. We just need a very clean one, a very clean break and retest above here to continue buying. Let's see how to look on the 1 hour time frame. All right, so for 1 hour time frame, I'll simply just wait for market to be trading above this area of interest to buy. So this market might actually just continue bullish next week, but I need it to be clean for me to be interested, right? So USD card, I'll be adding it for this week. I just need a clean market to be able to enter for buys next week. Card JPY, let's see how it looks on the daily. All right, card JPY. Let's see. First of all, I don't really like this market structure, but we do have a very solid area right here. So I do believe that since market is still above that area, we could continue buying to the upside. So let us look at other time frames to make a decision on this. Weekly time frame is also bullish. That is a good sign. Okay. Now 4 hour time frame. Okay, so this market is cleaner on this time frame. So 4 hour time frame is also bullish. Let's see how the 1 hour will be looking. Okay, so 1 hour time frame is also bullish. This trade is ready, pretty much. The only thing that is not here is the engulfing candlestick, right? So if this was the engulfing candlestick right here, we could have entered right here and put our stop loss below this low. So depending on how market opens, I'll decide if I'm going to be trading CAD JPY for next week, right? So again, I'll just keep this one closed, but we are looking for buys on this market. Let's see the 4 hour again for the last time. I think I'll need the 4 hour. I'll need the 4 hour to have like a deeper retracement, which means I need market to open to the downside and then maybe give me signs for me to buy, for me to be able to buy this market, right? So CAD JPY for buys next week. NZD JPY, let's see what we have. Daily time frame. Okay, so let's delete everything. Daily time frame. By the way, daily time frame is still bearish. You can argue if this is a structure point or not, right? Let's see how the weekly looks. Weekly is overall still bullish. Not liking the market structure so far, but let's continue. Okay, all right. So this market looks good for sales, so we should just look for an area to use. All right, so we don't have a very clean area. Let's look for the area on the 4-hour time frame if we can get. Alright, so this area is clean enough. So let me explain this area that I just drew now. So if you look at this area, let's come closer. You can see we had a rejection from here, a rejection from here. We had market stalling around this area. Pretty much what the data is saying is that around this price point, right, price always have a rejection or have a reaction from that area. If you go over to the left again, you see at that price point again, price had a reaction at that same price point, same thing around here, and right now price is currently below that area. So it only makes sense for us to sell this market on, that is what, NZD card, right? So it only makes sense for us to sell this market. The market structure is not as clean as I would like it to be, but I'll decide if I will be trading this pair next week. Let's say at the 1 hour we'll be looking. Okay, so 1 hour time frame also is not as clean, but depending on how market starts to form once we get back to this area will determine if I'm going to actually buy or sell this. Sorry, it will determine if I'm actually going to sell this market, because that's the bias of this market, right? So that's that for NZD JPY. I'll just be keeping it close, not making any major decision. GBP CHF, which is the W we took last week. Let us see what we have right now. Okay, so alright, so GBP CHF, we need like a deeper retracement to sell from what I'm seeing already. A retracement like this to continue selling. Let's see the area of interest. Okay, area of interest not so clean, but the cleanest one we can get is this one right here, right? But I don't think it's deep enough. I don't know why. I don't think it's deep enough, but that is the cleanest area of interest. So that is the one that we are definitely going to be using. I think it will be cleaner on the daily time frame. So let's see how the market is looking right now. So first of all, daily is bearish because we just shifted bearish last week. Weekly is also bearish, right? Weekly is also bearish. All right, okay. 4-hour time frame. Now I want to see the area of interest clean on the 4-hour time frame before we continue. So here we had one rejection, very clean. Two double rejections from here. Another rejection right here. Another rejection. Let's go over to the left. And somewhat of a two other rejection right here. So I think it's a valid area for us to use if we can get it. But I don't think the retracement is deep enough. But the idea is for us to just look for a retracement back into this area to continue selling. So I'll decide on how exactly we are going to be playing this market on the Telegram channel, right? On the Telegram channel. For now, seems like if you are getting back to area of interest on the 1 hour time frame, it's still going to shift bullish. So we still need it to shift bearish again before we actually sell GBP CHF. That's assuming we are actually going to be taking that trade, right? GBP NZD, next pair. Let's see how the daily looks. Alright, GBP NZD. Okay, overall direction for this market still looks bearish, right? I don't know if you guys can see my face. Overall direction of this market still looks bearish. So the area of interest will be somewhere around here, just not clean like I would like it to be. So let me just accommodate this particular one because it's a very clean rejection. So alright, so the area of interest, we're going to be using on GBP NZD will be this one right here. So daily is the daily, well, I'll just call it bearish. You can argue if it's bullish or bearish, but in my opinion, it's still bearish. Weekly time frame is also overall bearish, right? This is still the lower low and this is still the lower high. Let's see how the 4-hour looks. Now the 4 hour is actually bullish right now. So I don't know if you guys have been following me for some time, but if you know, I actually do prefer when the daily, the 4 hour, and the 1 hour are in sync, right? So I prefer that the daily, the 4 hour, and 1 hour are in the same direction that I'm willing to take the trade. I actually prefer that more than the weekly, daily, and 4 hour in the same direction. It's just a thing that I've tested over time that seems to be working for me, and that's exactly what I decided to stick on, right? So because the 4 hour is bullish, um, that is not making me interested in this market anymore. I need the 4 hour to still be bearish for me to be interested, right? So the overall direction for this market should be sales. If you think it's good enough for you, you can actually do take this trade. But I would like for this market to actually shift structure bearish for me to be interested in actually selling GBPNZD, right? So that is that for GPNZD. USD JPY next pair. Let us see what we have. All right, USD JPY. Apparently, market is going to be buying, I think. Let us see what market structure is telling us right now. So first of all, daily structure is actually bullish right now, right? Actually bullish. We have a very strong resistance level around this area right here. Okay. Okay, let's look at other time frames. Weekly time frame. Nah. This trade now. Like I'm seeing a lot of things that could tell me that this market could actually react to the downside, right? But this market should be good for buys instead. So I'll show you. Okay, should I explain why? Let me explain why. All right. If you look at the weekly, you can see that the weekly is having like a reversal candlestick pattern, but that's not all. What we have this I don't know what they call this, but we price usually reacts from that kind of levels. I don't know what they call it. If you know what they call it, just let me know in the comment section. But there's this inverse candle before a strong move to the downside, right? It's just something I've noticed too as well. But that candle usually have some kind of reaction, right? So that is that for that weekly time frame. Daily time frame is still bullish. 4 hour time frame is also bullish, but we don't even have structure, by the way. I don't know why. We don't even have market structure. 1 hour time frame, I expect the market to continue buying basically. I expect this market to continue buying, but with this kind of market structure that is pretty much very indecisive and a lot of weeks to the downside, I'm not really sure if I'm interested in this kind of market, right? Maybe we'll just sit it out for next week. It's very possible. All right, Euro AUD. Damn, what happened here? Okay, so Euro AUD. I am not interested in Euro AUD. Next pair, NZD card. So NZD card, I think we're looking for buys if price gets to this area, but price pretty much continue very bearish. As you can see, we needed price to come back to this area and have a shift of structure to the upside. Price just pretty much breached to this area without even reacting. So we never actually took any trade. So loss avoided, right? So that's another thing in trading. You also trade when you avoid losses, right? So for you to sit down 1 week and not actually take a trade, but you actually avoid losses, it means you actually traded that week, right? So NZD card, I don't know what to say about NZD card. It's confusing to me, so I'll not be interested in NZD card. Next pair, GPP card. All right, GPP card has a more cleaner structure, at least to the downside. So let's delete everything we have and draw it again. So the daily time frame is clearly bearish, as you can clearly see. As you can see right here, this is the lower low and this right here is the lower high. So I'll be drawing an area of interest right here, which will be an area that I'll be paying attention to for possible rejections, right? So as you can see right here, we did this sometime in July 2025. We did this again sometime in September 2025. As you can see, reactions from that same area. We did multiple reactions somewhere around December, and time and time again, even recently in April, right? So it just makes sense that we should expect another reaction since it has been doing this for a lot of time right now, right? So that's that for the daily time frame, bearish markets. Okay, now weekly time frame is also still bearish. That's also good. That's also good. Now I don't know if you guys know this, but I have noticed that most of the markets that give us good opportunities are selling markets, right? Or bearish markets. So I don't know if you guys are going to use that to your opportunity or to your advantage, but anytime I do have a bearish market, I actually feel more confident in taking that trade than buying markets, right? So it's just a pattern that I've noticed again as well. Again, that's why it's good to watch the longer version of these setups, because I'll give you guys all the idea, all the source that I've learned over time, right? Again, we always refine what we know, right? In support with the strategy, not against the strategy, right? So that's that. So 4 hour time frame is also bearish. We have a clean left head, right shoulder. Guess we are going to be waiting for the retracement of the right shoulder now, as you can see around here, to potentially sell, right? Clean area of interest. All right, so let's see how it looks on the 1 hour time frame. This trade might give us the opportunity or might not give us the opportunity. But if price gets back to area, I'll actually wait for another shift of structure again now. So if you guys want me to explain why, I'll explain why. But I believe you should know why. So let me explain why right now. So this right here is the lower low on the 1 hour time frame, and this is the lower high. If you're expecting price to come back to this area of interest, price is going to be shifting bullish, right? And we don't want to be selling in a bullish market. So that's why we are going to be waiting for a shift of structure. So we need a bearish market to be able to sell in a bearish market, right? So that's why we'll be waiting for a shift of structure to sell to the downside. So that's that for GP card. I don't know. Should I keep it close? I'll keep it close to see what we have. How it plays out next week. NZD. Have I checked NZD card? Okay, NZD card. Okay, all right. NZD USD. Let us see how it looks. All right, very strong bearish markets, just currently shifted bearish. Could continue selling possibly, but I don't know if I will be interested in this market. Let's just look at how the other time frames are looking. I think we have cleaner pairs to be paying attention to instead of paying attention to this one, right? But I do believe that if this market is going to continue in a direction, I believe that this market could have a reaction to around this level to potentially sell, right? But that's not the trade I'm interested in. I think we have better pairs, right, that have clean break and retest. This retracement back into this area will not be deep enough for me, right? I need at least a 50% retracement before we get the confirmation. Then before I now place an order either to buy or to sell. Right, so that's that for NZD/USD. That's the only reason I will not be interested in that market. Euro AUD. Let's see what we have there. The daily time frame. All right, not interested, but I do believe that this market could actually have a reaction from this area to potentially sell. But again, we're not going to be selling in a bullish market. So next pair, AUD, GBP AUD. All right, so let me delete what we have. Daily time frame. Okay, we have reactions from this area. Okay, and the daily time frame is bearish, so that's a good thing. Weekly time frame, let's see. All right, weekly is also bearish. Now 4 hour time frame. Okay, so this is now a 4 hour area of interest because it's on the 4 hour time frame we had multiple reactions from, right? I'm thinking on how to enter this market. This is a clean break. The retracement is way too deep. Again, I just need a 50% retracement, but this right here is way too much of a retracement. I don't think I'll be interested in this market. Except price probably gets back to area of interest, just like this, and then now start shifting structure to the downside before I'll be interested. Again, I'll just monitor to see how this trade plays out, right? And if you can get this, if you can get this, I'll now be interested in this market, right? So that is that for GBP AUD. GBP JPY by the daily time frame is currently bearish, as you can tell right here. The area of interest we'll be using, I will see how it looks on the 4-hour time frame, but the area of interest looks like is this one we are going to be using. At least we have 2 rejections, or somewhat of a 3 rejections from the daily area of interest, which is not bad at all, right? But the time frame right now is bearish, right? So daily time frame is bearish. Weekly time frame, weekly time frame, you know, I think is bullish. Weekly time frame is bullish, and the 4-hour time frame is bearish, right? So what makes more sense on this market is to wait for a deeper retracement to around this level to sell, right? I think I like this pair. I'll be bringing it. Let's see. Okay, should I add it for this week? I'm thinking of. Okay, I'll add it for this week. All right. AUD USD. Let's look at how it looks on the daily time frame. I do believe AUD USD might actually start buying from here, but again, we are not going to be buying in a market that looks very strongly bearish, right? The only reason I'm buying is that the overall direction of this market has been going up, right? Very steadily to the upside. So it just makes more sense to look for where to enter for the buys to continue buying to the upside. Okay, that's that. Let's see Euro NZD. Euro NZD. This time frame, I don't know. I think we have cleaner markets to pay attention to this one, but I just want to see what the direction could be. Euro NZD. Let's see. The daily time frame is actually currently bearish. Sorry, bullish. Weekly time frame. Last week had a very strong weekly engulfing candle, right? But the overall direction of this market is actually still bearish. 4-hour time frame. 4-hour time frame is actually still bullish, right? So what makes more sense is a retracement back into this area to buy. AUD card. Let's see what we have. Alright, I'm not interested in AUD card. AUD JPY. Daily time frame, I'm not interested. Let's see. Euro JPY last pair. Alright, let's look at Euro JPY clearly. So I'll delete everything that we have and look at this market well. Let me come closer to see this structure point. Okay, it's a very tight one, but let's see. I don't know. Let's look at the weekly. Let's see how the weekly looks. Weekly looks like we could be reacting from this place to go to the upside, right? So that is one thing I've noticed. I'm not saying we are buying this market just yet, but the overall direction of this market is what? Bullish. Daily time frame. Daily time frame is showing me that we have an area right here that has been respected by price at least multiple times. Now when we had a break, the retracement was a lot of slowdown, right? If you notice, it took price about 4 days to slow down back into this area, which is a very slow market, which means that the sellers are very weak in this market, right? So that's that for that. Let's see here. uh 4 hour time frame, I think the market structure is actually still bearish. I do believe this market will buy, but I don't know if I'm going to be adding it for this week. I think I'm thinking way too much on this market, but I believe this market should buy, right? Again, I'll just keep this one close. I need to see what happens on this market. All right, so that's pretty much it for this weekly setups. Again, I'll be making a shorter version of this video to explain the pairs I just chose again, so that we can potentially make money for next week, right? So that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys on the next video.